Caregiving can sometimes feel like an impossible struggle. Caregivers may be torn between taking care of loved ones and trying to maintain balance in life. The good news is that it doesn't have to be that way. The Caring Generation with host Pamela D Wilson is here to focus on the conversation of caring. You're not alone. In fact, you're in exactly the right place to share stories and learn tips and resources to help you and your loved ones. So now, please welcome the host of The Caring Generation, Pamela D Wilson.
This is Pamela D Wilson, caregiving expert, speaker, consultant, and guardian of the Caring Generation. Thank you for joining me for this week's show. It is episode 214. Before we jump into this week's topic, which is conversations spouses and adult children should have before a diagnosis of a serious illness or dementia. If you find this podcast helpful, please like it and follow it on your favorite podcast app. Your participation through likes and follows helps the show reach more people worldwide looking for hope, help, and support for their health or when caring for aging or elderly parents, spouses, other family members, or themselves. Talking about issues like retirement or health problems or a serious illness, or even a diagnosis of memory loss or potential dementia or Alzheimer's can be difficult because you may not know exactly what you're dealing with or what you're planning for. Similarly, if you are a healthy caregiver caring for a sick spouse, regardless of the diagnosis, you may be struggling to make a plan. You may be wondering, what should I do? What do I need to know? Well, what I can tell you is it takes two or more to make a plan. If your spouse isn't interested or engaged or doesn't understand the current situation, then it's up to you to begin the conversations and keep them going. These conversations about life and health, where to live, what you want to do about health problems, how you might pay for healthcare expenses, can be difficult because these may require hard conversations and making some hard choices. Most of the time when people procrastinate or an elderly parent or a spouse is in what I call refusing mode, you might hear this: "Oh, everything's okay. We don't need to plan. I'm okay. I don't need any help. There's no need to hire a caregiver. Why does anything have to change? Everything is okay." But if you're the caregiver and you're watching what's going on, you probably know that things aren't okay and you'd like to talk about it. Many times people who procrastinate or refuse might be saying these things for a couple of reasons. One, they may be in denial. You might hear, "I don't have memory loss," or "My health problem isn't that bad yet." While your spouse or partner or an aging parent may not understand why you are concerned, the effects of their decisions and their health can fall on you if you are the caregiver. That's obviously why you're concerned. Your loved one may not understand the consequences of their actions or their decisions, or even that there may be some kind of time constraint or time limitation going on. Maybe you've been the primary caregiver for years and years, and you're at a point where you're kind of burned out and you're done. Without having this information from a discussion or two, the person with the health problem may not be understanding what's at stake and why a decision has to be made, or even why a conversation has to happen. So, as that spouse, as that partner, as that adult child, it's up to you to get their attention, one way or another. This may be from repeated requests to have discussions, or if your requests remain ignored, it may take a little boundary setting. Something like, "Husband, wife, mom, dad, grandma, grandpa. No, I'm not going to help anymore until we talk about X. I've tried to talk to you about X. It seems you're not interested. I see this as a significant important topic that we want to discuss. And here's a couple of reasons why it's important. XYZ. Can you make time to talk about this with me on Wednesday at 5 p.m.? So you give them some reasons and you set a day and you set a time. Now, if you can't come up with reasons, let me give you a few. You're married or partnered and one of you has a few health issues that are getting worse. You want to have a realistic discussion about what it looks like for one of you to become the caregiver for the other person. These are really good conversation points to have before you even get married, because the habits you see with your boyfriend, girlfriend, spouse, partner today, they're pretty unlikely to change when you get married. Make sure that whatever you see, you can live with for the rest of your life. As I mentioned, this includes that discussion of who becomes the caregiver and what the caregiver's life looks like. Is there an expectation by the person who might need care that they want the caregiver to do everything for them? Is there an expectation by the person who needs care to say, I'm going to do as much as I can for myself. I don't want to become dependent on you. Are you okay with that? Can you allow me to do that? And then if it's later in life, look at your marriage. What have been your lifelong patterns? Has there been a lifelong pattern of a spouse or partner needing help and wanting help and not really taking a proactive role in any part of a relationship, including their health, including interest in living a healthy lifestyle? Many spouses marry and don't have conversations about being healthy, taking care of oneself, maintaining independence. One spouse sometimes does all the work while the other one just coasts. Then, when caregiving becomes a role later in life, the spouse who did all the work becomes the caregiver and they may be angry or resentful. Nothing in the marriage has really changed. Your spouse who is now sick needs care and attention. They've always expected you to do things. They've relied on you to do everything. Except now, you may be resentful and angry because that retirement you worked for, that retirement you hoped for, is not going to happen. It's down the drain because of your sick spouse. Your retirement will continue the pattern and expectations you set during your entire marriage. That's really something to think about. So let's run through a list of basic situations, talking points, and questions to ask so that you can avoid many of the unexpected situations that can happen when you care for a loved one who has early memory loss or early health problems that are likely to get worse. Heart disease that will get worse. Memory loss that's probably going to turn into dementia or Alzheimer's. And maybe this spouse you're caring for hasn't really been interested in taking care of themselves. Number one, if you live alone or are a couple, make sure you have a network of friends or family who can check in on you. If you're that caregiver, make sure you have a network of friends who can support you. So for example, if you don't show up somewhere, you haven't been seen in a few days, or you haven't spoken to a particular person, someone is concerned and they can do something about it. They can call you. They can call your spouse. They can stop by. Alternatively, you can set up what's called a buddy system with a friend or another couple, maybe a neighbor, so that you just kind of check in on each other regularly just to make sure that everything is okay, because you never know. You may be thinking, why is this even important? Well, it's important because the unexpected can happen. A healthy spouse can become suddenly, seriously ill and die. And if the person who needs care cannot take care of themselves, if they have advanced dementia or a serious health condition, how will they take care of themselves? Now, I hear you saying, oh, the situation is rare, it's never going to happen. Well, it did. And hearing about this story was the reason why I wanted to talk about this topic of dealing with the unexpected and having a list of things to do before a spouse is sick or is diagnosed with dementia. If you've watched the video that accompanies this podcast, you heard me talk about Gene Hackman, the actor, and his wife, Betsy Arakawa. In February 2025 and in March 2025, there was an investigation because the Hackmans died within a week of each other, and their bodies weren't discovered in their home until 15 days after Betsy Arakawa died. Betsy, the caregiver for Gene, who was 95 years old and had advanced dementia, was 65. She died unexpectedly of hantavirus. While the details are somewhat unknown, what is known is that Gene had a pacemaker that stopped sending a signal 1 week after his wife died. It's unknown that, because due to his Alzheimer's, whether he even realized his wife was dead. It's unknown whether he was able to care for his daily needs. Did he eat? Did he drink? Did he take his medications? Was he trying to figure out how to get help, or did he simply wander around the house confused for a week before he died? Nobody really knows. I doubt that his wife Betsy ever imagined in her wildest dreams that she would die and leave her husband, 30 years older, who was diagnosed with advanced Alzheimer's, alone and without care. It's a tragic story. If it does nothing but serve as a discussion opener for couples and spouses and partners to talk about having a plan and a backup plan for their care, then this story can have a positive impact. Number 2 in the basic list of things to do if you have a sick spouse or a spouse who may be diagnosed with dementia or Alzheimer's is to set up some kind of system to call emergency services. It doesn't matter whether you have a cell phone with 911 on speed dial, a home alarm system, or one of those pendants you wear around your neck or in a watch that detects falls or even serves as a cell phone communication device and has GPS. This is important, especially if you're older and live alone, to have some kind of system you can easily use to call for help. Some of those wearable emergency response devices detect falls. So if a person falls and becomes unconscious and the directions are on file with the monitoring system, they can call a family member and even 911. Help can be dispatched within minutes. Wearing or having one of these devices can be a safety net and relieve worry if you're the healthy spouse, you go out, you leave your person who needs help at home, or even if you live alone and you want to go out and you want to have the confidence that if something happens, you have immediate access to help. This is important because accidents do happen. Number 3 kind of reinforces number 1. If you live alone or are a caregiver living and caring for a spouse, a partner, an aging parent, set up a backup system. This could be as simple as hiring a caregiver for a couple of hours one day a week, so that if you need more help, you have a system in place. You can have a caregiver come if you need to run errands or go shopping, just so there's somebody there to stay with your loved one so that you don't have to worry. And they can be there in the event if for any reason you're delayed, you're in a car accident, you don't return home. While we rarely think that something is going to happen, many caregivers want to do it all. So they don't set up any backup systems or access any paid help. And while you may think you don't need this, having it in place can help avoid a crisis. What happens if you get sick and you need to go to the doctor or the hospital? If you're the caregiver, typically you delay because you can't leave your loved one. You're worried about leaving. That caregiver that you hired, that company that you're using, can come and stay with your loved one while you get the care you need. It's true, caregivers often neglect their own medical care. Hiring a paid caregiver can help you stay committed to being healthy and getting the care you need. Number 4, having a backup plan and backup people for what happens if you suddenly die or are killed in an accident. If that happens, who shows up to care for your loved one? Who gets the phone call? Is it a family member or somebody else? Who knows where you have all of your financial information, your legal information, everything that somebody knows or needs to know to take care of your spouse? Do you have that set up? Is there a system? While these conversations to talk about this can be unpleasant, having these discussions when you are not deathly ill or when a spouse's dementia has not progressed too far is important. It's important for each spouse to know what the other spouse wants and even to put it in writing if necessary. It's important to have these conversations with your children. Number 5, make sure your legal documents are in order. Medical and financial power of attorney, a living will, and a will or a trust. Following through on this one spouse will die before the other idea, these legal documents are invaluable to make sure that there is another person, an agent, who can step in to manage care or organize things if or when needed. Number 6 is to get your financial house in order, and this is really a thing to do earlier in life. How will you pay for care when you're older, knowing that Medicare is limited to medically related care? If you want to stay and live in your house and you need help, you're probably going to have to hire a caregiver. If you are a couple or a partner who is still working and your spouse becomes sick, will you quit your job to care for your spouse? Or will you continue to work and pay for a caregiver if needed? Talk about money for care often. If you didn't save enough and you're concerned, investigate your state Medicaid program so you know how that works. Sometimes many older adults just didn't realize the importance of planning. They thought, oh, we don't have to worry about it. Medicare pays for everything. And then they're shocked to find out that it doesn't. Or they thought, oh, our Social Security will be enough. And then they realize it's not. The earlier you have these discussions and plan financially and legally, the less stress you'll face when you're 50 or 60 or 70, especially if something unexpected happens. Number 7. In accordance with your lifelong health habits, work to be attentive to your health. See your doctor on a regular basis if you have health problems. Get regular checkups, especially if you're the caregiver. Because if you don't care for yourself, you may not be around to care for your loved one. Talk to your spouse about being healthy and embracing health habits. And again, hopefully you had these conversations before you got married. If you didn't, you may have married a spouse who really doesn't care about their health. And what if you're the spouse who does care about your health? That's a huge gap in belief systems and how you might age and manage your health problems when you're older. Talk about what you want or don't want. If you get seriously ill, do you want life-saving measures or not? And if you do, to what degree? How much care would you want? Would you want to stay at home and have care or go live in a care community? And is there money to pay for this? These conversations are very, very important to have and to document. And number 9, through all of these discussions, be considerate of your spouse or partner. What is your living situation? Where do you live? Is your home easy to manage, or is it a lot of work to take care of, and who's doing that work? If you die, does your partner know where the financial accounts are? Do they know how to pay the bills, or have you done this all of your life? What are you leaving your spouse or partner to do if you die tomorrow? And should you start sharing more of these responsibilities today in case that happens? How easy will it be if you die for a spouse to continue to pay the bills and manage the house? Is there enough money for them to live off of? Should you look at your big house and think of downsizing today? Should you clean out years of stuff in that house that nobody else is going to want? Or that your spouse or your children are going to have to clean out? Throughout life, talk about what do you want your life in retirement to look like? Now, I know people don't do this. Life is too busy. You're working. You may be raising children. Maybe you're going to school and working. You're too busy to think about the future. But it's so important to think about the future because every day the things that you do impact your future. Whether you're attentive to your health or not impacts your future. How you look at money, how you spend money, how you save money impacts your future. The person that you marry really impacts your future. These are all practical discussions to have and to continue to have so that if or when an unexpected health issue crops up that throws your life off balance, you have a plan. Having a plan is better than dealing with the unexpected or placing your spouse or partner in a position where they may struggle to find care or to be cared for. I encourage all of you to have these conversations and start planning today. If you need help in this area, go to my website, PamelaDWilson.com, click on the Services tab, and then Elder Care. You can schedule a one-on-one consultation with me. I thank you so much for being here. Please do like and follow this podcast on your favorite app. Share it with others you know who are seeking hope, help, and support. The show transcript, along with this podcast and a video, are on my website at PamelaDWilson.com. Go to the Media tab and then the Caring Generation podcast. Scroll down and look for episode 214. And while you're there, listen to the other 213 podcasts answering questions caregivers ask. I'm Pamela D. Wilson, a caregiving expert, advocate, and speaker. I thank you so much for joining me here on The Caring Generation. I look forward to being with you again soon. God bless you all. Sleep well tonight. Have a fabulous day tomorrow, and enjoy each day until we are here together again.
Tune in each week for The Caring Generation with host Pamela D. Wilson. Come join the conversation and see how Pamela can provide solutions and peace of mind for everyone. Here on Pamela D. Wilson's The Caring Generation.